is my name, and I am here to warmly welcome you to this interview in the series that is all about unleashing the audacious woman within. Today we have with us Jane Barlow Christensen, who is going to dive into one of my all-time favourite subjects, and that is how we use the gifts that Mother Nature provides to boost our immune systems, to support our well-being, and to unleash the audacious vitality that is sitting within all of us. Jane is the brains behind Barlow Herbal, and fun fact, she is the second eldest in a tribe of 14 children. Jane, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Edwina. I am so happy to be here and to meet you. And yeah, thank you.
As I was saying before we hit record, this really is one of my favorite subjects. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on the time because I know that we could just talk for hours and hours. But let's dive in first to your story. For those in our audience that haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be doing the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel, and I have felt like this for a long time as an adult, that I am one of the lucky ones because I grew up in the 60s and 70s. I was born in 1961. So this was when all of the processed food, the canned food, the packaged food, fast food restaurants started coming into play. And my dad, who was a botanist, he was a medicinal botanist, and my mom, they didn't let us have any of that stuff. We had a big garden. We made our own homemade bread. We would take our homemade lunches to school, and it'd be like a little bag of carrots, an apple, a sandwich made out of the worst looking bread you could ever imagine, you know, whole wheat. So for a long time, you know, especially as a teenager, I never took my own, I went without lunch, or I used my babysitting money to buy a school lunch so I could fit in, right? So I was lucky enough to grow up kind of a little bit off the grid, but also with these parents who did natural living before it was really popular, when all the packaged foods were being made as convenience for moms. And then my dad, as a botanist, of course, there were all kinds of plants and herbs and tinctures and potions and natural healers coming over to visit my dad, like acupuncturists and naturopaths and iridologists and reflexologists and chiropractors. And here's all these little kids getting all these treatments, and that was very normal for us. So as adults, especially when we were first adults, we were like, okay, forget all that. You know, that was hippie living. Now we have access to fast food and junk food. And most of my siblings went through a phase, including myself, where we just kind of went wild once we were able to have access to this. So during my 20s and about half of my 30s, I fell off the wagon. I didn't eat clean. I drank a lot of diet soda. And because I was young and I was very active, I didn't have a lot of health issues at all, really. Extra weight. I had a little bit of extra weight. And then my dad passed away, and I'd already kind of cleaned up my nutrition at that point and started to realize that I wasn't feeling good and I needed to feel better. And I was getting a little bit closer to 40, and then my dad passed away. And it kind of threw all of us into a loop because he was only 62 when he passed away. And then we all kind of were like, holy cow, there's something that's happening here. And about 4 years after my dad died, I restarted his company, and all of us kind of had gotten together and said, who's going to do this? Who's going to do it? And nobody wanted to do it because my dad was kind of a little bit, like I said, off the grid. He was kind of a rebel. He didn't believe in big government. And so his company kind of died with him. And then I restarted it with another sister, and we just kind of, started my dad's herbal formulas back up. And so I've been doing that now for almost 20 years. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I do.
I resonate with your story because I grew up similarly. My dad was actually 54 when I was born. So my parents were from a very different generation, similar to most people's grandparents, but we didn't eat in fast food restaurants. My mum cooked everything and we really lived that way. And it was when I became, an older teenager and in my 20s, I similarly just ate rubbish. And it took me a while to recover from that. But what I think, and I see that in my own children as well, now that they have jobs and money, they want to go and buy the foods that I wouldn't normally buy. But I feel like the foundation that I've given them, like I had, like you had, we know where to come back to. So maybe if we start there with this, this conversation for the women that are tuning in, great health can be really simple. We can, but there is a reset that needs to happen. So perhaps if we look at, first and foremost, the elephant in the room is COVID and working with viruses. What are some of the basic steps that we can take to really protect our health? And when we get colds and flus and viruses, perhaps the ways that you address that?
Yeah, that's a good question. That is a big elephant in the room. And I'm glad that you actually brought that up, because it's so forefront on everybody's mind that I think if we just kind of walked past it, it'll be like, hey, well, what about this?
Yeah.
Because I do believe that, first of all, good health is our birthright as humans. And our bodies know how to be well. Our natural homeostasis is wellness. If you think about all of the crap that we do to ourselves, whether that be bad food, too much drinking, not enough sleep, too much stress, and you know what happens? We still live, like we are still alive. And for a lot of people, we're actually thriving more than we probably should.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking and you're maybe a little bit scared about what's going on in the world right now with this current virus, it's actually very, very simple to turn your health around very, very quickly. Because what's going to protect you from any virus, I mean, coronaviruses are not new.
Yeah.
Viruses change and adapt because that's what viruses do. But what happens is the human biology changes and adapts with every new virus.
Yep.
If you think about our microbiome, this is where most of our immune system lives. We are 50% virome, which is viruses. And that's, maybe some people have never really thought that or thought about it. But when we are exposed to a new virus, if we're healthy, our body knows what to do with it. Sometimes we might get a sniffle or a cough, or we might have a virus that might take us down during cold and flu season. Yep. But we get well and our body adapts, we build antibodies, and there we are. Yeah. So I think if this is a wake-up call for some people because they haven't been paying attention or taking care of their health, this is a really good time to say, all right, I'm going to, first of all, start eating better. Like that is the number one thing, and maybe less. Sometimes when you give your body a break, it has a chance to breathe. It's like what happened when everybody went indoors and the whole world basically shut down. Yeah. All of a sudden, the planet, Mother Earth, got a chance to breathe because we weren't busy running all over it with our cars and our airplanes, and the lungs of the earth finally breathe. So when you stop eating so much and sometimes even doing some fasting, your body gets a chance to go into repair and be regenerative. Yeah. So it's actually very simple. You just have to be willing to do it. Yeah. So that's probably my number one thing is start with your nutrition.
Yep. Yep. I know that there is so much confusion across the globe with what a healthy diet looks like. And we have people that are 100% in the vegan camp, or 100% in the paleo camp, or 100% in the raw camp. And so I would love if you could give the women that are listening a little bit of a picture of what are the basics. We don't have to necessarily be in an extreme camp or put ourselves in a box, but what are some of the basics that you cover from a nutritional point of view that really fit into every camp, perhaps?
Yeah, and this is where I find a lot of confusion does come in, because, you can take people who are keto, carnivores, vegans, raw vegans, pescatarians, whatever it is. And I mean, if you look at the different areas of the world, like look at the Eskimos in Alaska, You know, they eat a lot of meat and a lot of fat, and they don't eat a lot of vegetables, but that's how their bodies have adapted to. Now, if you think about common sense, people know that if you eat a meat-heavy diet, where every meal has meat in it, and you don't get a lot of vegetables and plants, you can't really be vibrantly healthy. And I've been through the whole gamut. I was a vegetarian for 12 years. I was a raw vegan for about 3 years, and I felt amazing, but then I started to feel like my body was missing something. And so then I started eating wild fish, and not every single day, maybe a couple times a week. And I started really listening to what my body needs. And I think we need to pay attention to our sourcing, because if you get a farmed salmon, you know, you're not going to be getting the salmon the way it was supposed to be raised or living, you know, so that it would give you the nutrition that you're supposed to get from it. I mean, we are definitely carnivores, we're omnivores, but we need more plant-based. I think we just are willing to follow any guru because they look good and they have a six-pack, they look good in a bikini or a bathing suit. It's like, oh, this person is doing full-on keto and it's a lot of fat and a lot of meat, and they look like that, then we think that must be healthy. But I mean, to me, I think we've kind of stopped really saying, well, what do we know for sure? We know that plants are good for us. We know that minimal meat is not good for is good for us. And I think we need to stop drinking soda. Like, that to me is like, I can't think of one good thing about soda. Like, there's not even one redeeming quality of soda. So there's these things that we all know, but we kind of go, oh, we live in a little bit of denial, and we forget to listen to our inner guidance and our intuition, and we need to get back to simplicity. Like, sometimes I might just have a big bowl of watermelon and that's lunch. So we need to start thinking lunch doesn't have to be a sandwich with chips and even a great big salad. It can be one thing. It could be an apple, and that's it. So I think we just need to go back to simplicity, and healthy food is not complicated.
No, it's not at all. And I know when I'm trying to help the women that I speak to bust through all the confusion, I say, if Mother Nature produced it, you're on the right track. If it's seasonal, you're on the right track. And as much as possible, let's go organic. Everything else just kind of fits into that. So that's my 3 kind of guidelines. And, you know, I think we do need to simplify it, because there is just so much confusion. People give up and then they just go for what's fast, cheap and easy, which is not necessarily the healthy stuff.
Yeah, I think so too. And I also think that like, a lot of people know that eating is very emotional. Like, we eat emotionally. We can eat when we're sad or lonely. We can eat when we're celebrating and we're happy. And I think, and there's traditions involved, you know, there's deep traditions involved with, maybe there's this amazing cake that your grandmother made and it's been passed down generation to generation. So when you are at a family gathering and there's this cake that's traditional, and to opt out can be uncomfortable, and it can maybe hurt the feelings of people who baked this for you, because we get food that's unhealthy from people that we love because they love us. So what I've had to do is very kindly, with so much love, opt out as quietly as possible if I'm at a family gathering. And now people just know. They're not going to try to push anything on me. And if they do, so I think we need to be brave, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I had this conversation just recently with my daughter's birthday. 17th birthday came up, and I was doing a cleansing protocol that went over about 43 days, and it just happened to fall over that time. But, you know, this is what I talk about empowerment is. There's only one person that's 100% responsible for this body, my health and happiness. And I get to do that unapologetically. It's not something that I need to make excuses for or apologize for.
Yeah, I agree. I think once you start doing it, it becomes so much easier and more comfortable. And then also the people in your life that you choose to keep in your life, because I think that can be part of the problem, is our environment. If you're used to going after work with some friends every Friday and you have pizza and beer, maybe you need to stop doing that, because if you put yourself in that situation and try just to have a salad, and until you're in a place where you're very comfortable and it doesn't even tempt you,
Yeah.
you're going to probably get a lot of crap from your friends because you're not indulging in pizza and beer because they feel guilty doing it if you're not.
Yeah.
So we need to remember that our environment, even as far as the food that's in your own house, that's your environment. Don't bring it into your environment, because if you're going to have a bad day, you know, the ice cream that's not healthy for you is in the freezer. You're going to be like, well, I deserve it today because I had a bad day. So if you don't even have it in your environment, that's going to be very beneficial for you as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And there's always a healthier option. I've actually got I found, I don't know if you have panna chocolate where you are. Panna's like a beautiful raw. Sorry, my dog's having a little party in the background here. He likes to keep us entertained. On your bed, come on. Apologies. But yeah, they make a beautiful raw, dairy-free, gluten-free, you know, guilt-free ice cream. So, you know, there's always a good option.
There is, and coconut milk ice cream is one of my favorites here. So yes, there are always, so have those options available.
Yep.
Sometimes it's just swapping your mindset and then and your taste buds.
Yeah. Okay, so we've looked at nutrition. What's another simple step in promoting better health or looking after our health?
Well, hydration to me is huge. You know, that one of the, I know a lot of people, and a lot of people I've talked to, one of the first things they do is they start drinking coffee or tea first thing in the morning, and then they kind of just hydrate with things that stimulate them to keep them going all day long, and then they'll actually, to come down from all the stimulation during the day, they'll have a glass of wine or a beer, and there's really no water in there. You know, we're 70% water, and the best thing that you can do for your body when you first get up is drink a quart of water.
Yeah.
You know, drink a big glass of water.
Yes.
And you're actually giving your body this huge message that it's important to you. Everything wakes up when you drink water and you stay hydrated. Your digestion, your elimination, your brain, all of your organs wake up when you are hydrated. So I think that even though you hear it all the time and you hear people say we need to be hydrated, drink this many glasses of water, we are still a chronically dehydrated planet of people. So to me, that is one of the most important things that you can do for your health, is cut all the other stuff out and start drinking water and stay fully hydrated.
My clients know me for my giant glass of water.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I usually have a squeeze in the morning. My first one has a squeeze of lemon in it, and it's warm. That's my favorite start.
Yeah, and lemon is good because, as you know, it's puts your body in alkaline balance. And here's another great tip. Add a little sprinkle of cayenne pepper, or if you can make your own cayenne pepper tincture. So you make just an extract of cayenne pepper, you can squeeze it into the water with your lemon. And cayenne pepper speeds up your metabolism. It's really good for digestion, and it's super nourishing for the lining of your stomach. And it's also really, really good for your heart. So a little squirt of cayenne pepper or a sprinkle. In fact, you might like cayenne pepper in like chai tea, but that's a really nice thing to add to your morning water with lemon, is a little bit of cayenne pepper.
For some reason, that makes me think of one of my favorite movies, Chocolat, and she puts chili in the chili hot chocolate. I'm like, that sounds good. So is cayenne pepper, is there something medicinally different in that to chilies?
Well, it depends on your chilies, but a lot of your chilies have capsaicin, which is the active ingredient in cayenne pepper. But yeah, a lot of your different cayennes and chilies will have that compound that actually gives it the heat and the power to improve, to do all those things. So yeah, most of your chilies have those properties.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the middle of winter here, the opposite to you, but at this time of year I add chili to everything because I just love the heat.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Okay, so definitely hydrating, upping our nutrition. Have you got a third on your list?
Yeah. So activity, movement. We are designed to move. When you stop moving, literally your body starts dying. So if you are a sitter, even if you get up early and exercise in the morning and then you spend 8 hours during your workday sitting, which a lot of people do in front of their computers as they're working. You need to set a little alarm on your phone or somewhere and stand up, walk around, do some squats or go up and down some stairs once an hour, once every half an hour if you can, because you literally not moving is so damaging to the human biology. Our circulation suffers, everything starts to suffer. So if you feel, really good about exercising in the morning, that's great. But then if you sit all day, you might as well not even have exercised in the morning. Like, people don't realize how damaging it is to sit. So you need to have some movement pretty much all day long. You think about people who have the most longevity, they don't really ever sit still. Like, even old people in some of the blue zones around the world, they're active, they're gardening, they're walking, they're keeping their house clean, whatever they're doing, they are moving. So I'm really lucky that I started exercising when I was young. I started teaching group exercise classes when I was 18. And I was still teaching until this whole thing hit, and the gym where I taught my class went out of business just a few months ago. And my 40 years of teaching came to a halt, which it's okay. I've given it love, but this was a gift I was able to get when I was very young. And it saved me during my bad years of eating. And I think you can fall in love with the movement of your body. It can be such a blessing in your life. And no matter where you are, moving your body will make a huge, huge difference. So I would say, all of these, you can put all at the very top. They all have equal benefits, but exercise and movement, and again, these are all things everyone's heard, right? Oh, I need to exercise. Yes. And it doesn't have to be go pound it out really hard. Walking. Walk, move.
My husband went and bought me a standing desk, which is what I'm using now. And it just makes such a difference. And I can be standing here doing interviews, and sometimes I'm on one leg and then I'll swap over and I'm on the other leg. And it's just tiny movements to keep that going.
That's exactly perfect. Because even if you have a desk you can adjust, move it up. If you're, and work for a while standing. And I know we have standing desks at our company, and everybody has one. And it's basically like, I'll see people doing side leg lifts and doing squats, and it's kind of like that's good. So that's good.
It's just another way. We're all trying to balance this. For a lot of us, like I was just saying, we're just going back into lockdown here in the city closest to us. They've now restricted it to 1 hour outside the home for movement. It's just, anyway.
Well, you have really bad air quality. Am I right?
Well, at the moment it's fine because we're in winter, but certainly from last summer we were having problems with after the fires.
Right.
But at the moment the 1 hour restriction is all COVID related, nothing to do with air. But anyway, that's another subject. So I think movement and that subject leads probably into a next step in our wellness journey, which is connection with nature. Where does that sit on your list of priorities?
You know what? It's very, very high for me, partly too because I grew up with a dad who was a botanist, and he loved everything nature, everything plant. We used to, because there were so many of us, like you said in the beginning, I'm one of 14, and we used to pile into the car to go everywhere. So I was raised before seatbelts were, we would sit all the older kids at the bottom in the back seat, and then we'd have little kids on the laps of the big kids in the back. So there might be 8 kids in the back seat. And then my mom would always have a baby on her, with her and my dad. And sometimes when we would go to church, and this would probably happen once or twice a month, every Sunday we'd pile in the car and go to church. And my dad, we lived out in the country, and my dad would see something along the side of the road that he wanted to identify and teach us about. So we would pull over and we would have a quick 5-minute little botany lesson on, this is this plant, this is the Latin name, this is the botanical name, you can use the leaves for this, and if you pull out the root, you can do this. And sometimes the leaves, we would taste them, and then we'd sometimes go to church and we'd all have dirt and leaves and twigs on us. And so this was a really normal part for us. And then we would also go up into the mountains to have a cookout and build campfires. We'd go hiking with my dad.
Yeah.
So all of my siblings, we have this deep love of the mountains and getting out into Mother Nature and laying on the grass in the middle of the night and looking at the stars. And
Yeah.
because that's how we were raised.
Yeah.
And this such a deep gift. So I think that getting out into Mother Nature is so critical for humans. Even if you take the hour that you can and can go ground somewhere,
Yeah.
literally go connect magnetically, energetically to the earth.
Yeah.
Hug a tree,
Yeah.
like in your bare feet, if you can.
Yeah.
And I know that's harder for some people than others. If but connecting with Mother Nature is absolutely critical for our health as humans.
Yeah.
Because we need the microbes too.
Yep.
If you sit by a fern in a forest, you're getting fungi and bacteria and spores that are actually feeding your health. Like we just don't realize the connection that we get when we are with Mother Nature, even in small doses. It doesn't have to be a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think, before we hit record, we were talking about the mental health situation and how there's, the rising levels of depression and anxiety with everything that's going on, and just how calming it is to be in Mother Nature. It just seems to be this beautiful reset. And I think for a lot of people that perhaps are not familiar with this conversation, it might sound a bit woo-woo to, like hug a tree or put bare feet on the ground. But I like to think about, on those occasions when you go camping, just how beautifully you sleep when you sleep close to the ground, and how relaxing it is, if you walk in a forest or in the bush as we have here, or everything just settles. It's like this beautiful effect. And if it's a long time since you've experienced that, then if you take one thing from this interview, I would encourage that to be, go and have that experience again. Because
I agree. In fact, think of this. When you go to the beach and you put your feet in the sand and you walk along the beach, and maybe it's a vacation, think about how you feel. And you're not just feeling relaxed and good physically because you're on vacation. That might be a piece of it. But when you are literally connecting with your feet in the sand, walking along a beach where there's water, this is one of the best ways to magnetically connect to the world, is on a beach with water, with bare feet. And like, think about how you feel. Like you might think, oh, I feel good because I'm on vacation, but you're feeling good because your body's getting what it needs. So yes, I agree. If you take away one thing, let's open our mind about being a little bit more of a tree hugger and a barefoot in the sand or in the grass kind of a person, because even just standing in grass has a ton of benefits. So yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And I mean, this show is all about being audacious and bold and daring. So go forth.
Yeah, and like we talked about before we started recording, the older I get and the more things that I do that people have thought I've been crazy in the past, I really, you have to get to a point where you don't care what other people think about you. I mean, what others think of you is really none of your business. If you want to try to please people and it's at the expense of your health, that's just something to really second guess. Like, it's not something to second guess. Don't second guess your health because you're trying to please someone else. Live in your truth and be willing to be uncomfortable for a while until it's comfortable.
And be a leader. Set the example. So, I mean, we've covered a few things. We've looked at nutrition, we've looked at water, we've looked at movement, connection to nature. I think of all these things like pieces of a puzzle. We can get very fixated on having the perfect diet, but everything else kind of gets neglected, or we exercise and think we can just eat rubbish because we're going to burn it off anyway. Like as humans, we seem to be very hardwired for extremes. But so I like to think of these things as pieces of a puzzle. They're all necessary. It's like that foundation for health. So is there anything else on your list that we haven't covered yet?
Another great big huge one is sleep. Sleep is huge. And here's the thing with sleep. Our room needs to be three things. The place where we sleep and lay our head and get our restful night's sleep, it needs to be cool, it needs to be dark, and it needs to be quiet.
Yeah.
So a couple of tips. If you have a television set in your bedroom, or you're laying in your bed before you go to sleep and you're reading on an iPad, or you're scrolling through social media, and that's what you're doing to relax to stay asleep, you've got the blue light, you've got the stimulation, you need to break that habit.
Yep.
You need to get a real book. Get a real book and make that your habit. Maybe do a meditation before you go to sleep. The dark thing, your body cannot produce melatonin to help you get that deep, deep sleep if there's light coming in, because even through your eyes. So if you don't have the ability to get blackout shades or have a completely pitch black room, you need to wear a mask so that you have complete blackness. So if you have your cell phone charging by your bedside on your bedside table, besides the blinking, you're getting the EMF waves. And again, people might think, oh, that's crazy. Those are real things. That's how you stay connected. Put your cell phone in a different room and let it charge there somewhere. And get an alarm clock, like a real alarm clock that plugs in, and turn the light away from you or cover it. Because if there's a digital, so your room needs to be perfectly pitch black for you to get a good night's sleep. And then it needs to be cool. And this can be challenging sometimes, depends on where you live and what time of year it is. But if you have the ability to control the temperature, think how much better you sleep when it's cool. And you're just getting that deep, restful sleep. So if you're a burn the candle at both ends kind of person, and you count on caffeine to keep you going, if you don't get enough sleep on a regular basis, you're doing some serious damage to your biology, because it needs to regenerate and repair. And don't eat late at night, because you can't get a good night's sleep if you have this big, heavy meal that your body now has to try to digest when it's trying to repair. So sleep is absolutely critical in the health puzzle.
Couldn't agree more. We moved from the country into suburbia a few years ago, and it was the first time in my life that I had to negotiate light pollution. I just didn't even realize it was a thing, and it drives me nuts, this idea, like street lights out the front that all kind of come in through. So I've got a black mask that says beauty queen.
Oh, that's perfect. I love it. It's perfect. It's exactly what you should do, because a lot of people don't have access to keeping their room pitch black. But I will tell you, one of the best things you can do is get rid of the television set if it's in your bedroom. And along with that comes disconnecting from media. My oldest son spent a year in Kuwait and Iraq during the first part of the war, the Iraq war. So this was more than 20 years ago. And for that year, I was glued to the news because I was worried for him. And I didn't sleep well. I had stress and anxiety. And I realized at the end of that year, when he came home, even though I think it's good to be informed, I'm not saying stick your head in the sand. But when you continuously focus on the news, especially now, what's happening is what's happening. And you get to choose how you deal with it. But by connecting into the news, I think it's so damaging to our health as humans, because we're not designed for so much negativity all the time. Find out what's going on and then disconnect. I haven't watched the news since then. 20 years I haven't watched the news. And a lot of people say, well, that's not responsible. How do you stay informed? And it's your duty. You know what? I know what's going on in the world. Trust me. I have plenty of people that tell me. I watch other sources, but I am not glued in to the media and to the news, because it's so damaging to our health. There's too much negativity, and it's just not good.
I'm with you 100%. I couldn't even tell you how long it's been since I've watched the news. Not years and years. And, like you said, it's not that I don't know what's going on, but I'm very selective at what I look at and what I tune into. And it's not just something that I want to be tuning into all day, every day, because it just plays havoc with mental health.
It does. It's just not good. I mean, we need positivity. We need love. We need hope. We need, especially right now, we need hope in a beautiful, brighter future. And we get to determine what that looks like for us. We can delve into the hopelessness and helplessness, or we can choose to say, all right, this is a wake-up call. I'm going to take better care of my health. I'm going to have more love for the people around me. I'm going to remember that I'm alive, and hope sustains us as human beings through these really tough times. And it helps us get through. Yeah.
So with the little bit of time that we've got left, you've shared with us your birth date. So I know that you're 60, nearly
I'll
60.
be 60 next year.
Yeah. Your
Yeah.
skin is beautiful. So whilst we know that the majority of beautiful skin and beauty comes from within, with all these different things that you've talked about, I
Yeah.
would love to hear what your skincare routine is. How do you maintain that beautiful skin?
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. So number one thing is I stay hydrated.
Yeah,
I don't ever let a day go by unless I've been out traveling, then it can be a little tricky to make sure I get enough water. But other than that, that is a top priority for me. And your skin can't look vibrant if it's not hydrated.
yeah,
I never drink soda. I haven't touched a soda in 25 years.
yeah,
I won't, I just made a decision
yeah,
um, that I'm not going to do soda. Soda does all kinds of damaging things to not just your
yeah,
skin, but your body.
yeah,
Um, I eat really clean. I don't eat fast food. I don't eat junk food. Every once in a while, I might indulge in a piece of birthday cake, but it's every once in a while, and I eat it with love. I never feel guilty when I'm done. If I eat something, I enjoy it, I celebrate it, and then I don't ever beat myself up
yeah,
that way. I think it's damaging to the
yeah,
way we are, the way we vibrate out to the world. If we eat something, we immediately feel guilty about it, and then we beat ourselves up about it, because that's not a way to live. And then I make my own homemade soap. I've been doing that for a long time, so I only use that on my skin. And then I just use oils and herbs, and I don't use anything from the store. I just use that on my skin.
yeah.
It's super super simple. Yeah.
What's your oil and herb mix that you have?
So when we started to talk about this before we were recording, this is actually a super fun story. So about 3 years before I turned 50, so about 12 or 13 years ago, I decided I needed to start putting something on my skin other than just soap and baby lotion. Because my mom, that's what she used on her skin, was because she had so many babies, there was always baby lotion around, and that's just what she used. She didn't really have time for a skincare regime. She just was like, on the baby, on me. And that was pretty much how she did it. So all my sisters, 9 girls in my family and 5 brothers. So all the girls, when we grew up, that's what we just used until we kind of found our way to other skincare stuff. And, some of my sisters got into the expensive lines and whatever, but I just never really did. But then what I started doing is when I realized, okay, I need to start doing something besides baby lotion on my skin. So I started playing around with herbs and oils and butters. And as I was making these different recipes, I would share them with all of my sisters and be like, well, here, I'm going to send you guys each a little vial of this. What do you think of this? And it kind of evolved into this really beautiful, perfect, there's 6 herbs in it.
Yeah.
Cat's claw, suma root, Chinese astragalus, ginkgo, pata arco. So there's these beautiful herbs that are infused into an oil and then added to the serum for all the things they do: improve circulation, antibacterial, antioxidant. There's just all these beautiful properties of these herbs. And then there's like coconut oil and calendula flower oil and hemp seed oil and avocado oil. And it's just this beautiful blend. And then I would start to use lavender essential oil, lemongrass essential oil, bergamot. And basically as my sisters started using this perfect recipe, they started sharing it with all of their friends.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, like every weekend, I was making up batches of the serum and just giving it away. And so I finally brought it out as a product because it was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Everybody wants it. And so so it's just a lovely serum that's pure. The only thing that acts as a preservative is vitamin E. So there's no preservative, there's no chemicals, and it's just a lovely, makes you feel like, I talk about a queen, beauty queen, like putting this on your skin. Yeah.
There's something about playing with what Mother Nature provides and creating something that's so nourishing, and there's something about that that just lights me up. It makes me feel so excited at the idea of it, and using it, it just, it's a little bit like eating organic food versus a McDonald's burger or something. It's just, you just can feel you're doing yourself so much goodness.
Yeah, and honestly, Edwina, it's super simple.
Yeah.
You know, this is something
Yeah.
that I teach people how to make it themselves. If someone doesn't want to, you can buy it for me, or I'll teach you how to infuse herbs into oils, and then just start playing around like coconut oil. That's simple. Your skin loves coconut oil.
Yeah.
So I think that instead of getting intimidated,
Yeah.
people need to go, they need to start saying, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, it's when I run out of moisturizer, and quite often I just use like a plain jojoba oil, but which is
Perfect.
actually wax, not an oil. But you know, when I run out of whatever moisturizer I'm using, I use olive oil or coconut oil straight out of the pantry.
That is perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Like people don't realize it doesn't have to be an expensive cream or serum or, you
No.
know, it doesn't have to be that. It can be very, skincare starts from within. What you drink, what you eat, how much you sleep, and then it does not have to be difficult
No, it
at
doesn't.
all.
It doesn't. So I didn't pre-warn you about this question, but I'm asking all my speakers, as this is unleashing the audacious woman within. I am certain you've done plenty of bold, daring things, things that are outside the restriction of perhaps prior ideas. If you were going to just, if something lands in your mind, what's the most bold or audacious thing you've done?
Oh my gosh. You know, I guess you could, that's a really good question. And you're right, you kind of caught me off guard. I kind of think my whole life is pretty ballsy, to be honest.
Yeah,
So,
maybe even restarting your dad's company.
yeah, and you know that was so here. Yeah, so that's probably. I thank you for the tip because I was trying to think of something really ballsy that's not too controversial. Um, honestly,
We can be controversial. I've got no problem with that. I'll tell you just while it's percolating in your mind. It's been interesting as I've asked this question to all the speakers. There is a common thread, a running theme, and that is showing up authentically. Because most often that is the most bold and audacious thing we can do without um, making ourselves a chameleon, or you know, like just trying to blend into the environment that we're around. Actually showing up can be the most bold thing that we do in our lives.
yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I've definitely been an outlier my whole life
Yeah.
and quite proud of it. And I think my dad taught all of us that. You know, like growing up with as many siblings as I did, my parents always qualified for free lunch at school, but my dad refused to let us get free lunch. And because it's like I made the decision along with your mom to have all of you, and it is my responsibility to feed you. So we will not buy into the free lunch program. So my dad was this person who just really was like very self-sufficient, which he taught us, and he was definitely an outlier, and we admired him, but we also kind of watched him get grief for it and flack for it during his life. So that's why when he passed away, nobody wanted to restart his company
Yeah.
because he was, you know, he was such a rebel. Like he didn't believe in paying income tax.
Yeah.
And so he was always, you know, he changed his phone number every 6 months, his business line, and he sold mostly to practitioners. So he had this, you know, he was just this rebel. So when I did restart this company with my sister, one of my sisters, none of my other siblings wanted to do it, but this sister dropped out after 6 months. So I've really been going by myself for a long time. And yeah, it's pretty ballsy
Yeah.
because I now find myself and have for a long time in a world that's run by mostly men,
Yeah.
believe it or not, in the supplement industry. And I wouldn't consider myself in the beauty industry,
Yep.
even though I make a couple of skin things. What I do, I have to really be present and sit with men who aren't used to dealing with women.
Yeah.
And that actually, every time I do that, and I'm able to do it with grace,
Yeah.
and I'm able to do it on their level, and they see that I'm not just a blonde woman who doesn't know what I'm doing, and my dad's company was handed to me. Like that was not the case on any level.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I'm glad you actually brought that little spark up
Yeah.
because I think every day what I do, has a ballsy component to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, outliers are always my favorite people.
Oh,
So
it's a favorite place to be. I don't want to be. I don't want to be in the crowds. I don't want to be the person who's following what everyone else is doing because it's popular. It's beautiful out here.
yeah, it
It
is.
is,
It
it
is.
is a beautiful place to live. And as many of your people can get that concept and start putting it into practice,
Yeah.
your life will explode into brilliance. And you can start doing that in your own home, even.
Yeah.
You can
I
be an
don't
outlier.
I don't know if you're familiar with Brene Brown and
Oh,
her
yes, I
book,
love her.
Braving the Wilderness. I'm right out there.
I knew we had something to
Yeah.
connect about, Edwina.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we've got a lot of things. A lot of things. You know, there is one more question that I would love to, if you're happy to just go a little bit over, that I think is a really important question all throughout our lives, but particularly at the moment. And that is, you know, when we're facing ill health, choosing what nature provides over a pharmaceutical. And that can be a really challenging decision. And, you know, when we're, particularly if we're talking about our children, but with our own health as well, how do you address that fear? Do you have a particular sort of conversation that you have with people around that?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think the medical industry, is a sick care industry. It's not healthcare. And I think when we realize that we are the ones that are responsible for our health, and if we have something like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart disease,
Yeah.
like the genetic component of these lifestyle health issues
Yeah.
is tiny. It's about 5%. And this includes things like cancer, which we're all afraid of cancer.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you bring your body back into balance and realize the power and control you have, if you get diagnosed with something, it's to me, it's a wake-up call for you to go, okay, there's something that I'm not doing right. Because if you take a pharmaceutical, when you could take the responsibility to change your diet and change your lifestyle and change all these things we talked about earlier, then you're just being lazy. I mean, I hate to say that, but you're not really being responsible. So if you choose to be afraid and take a pharmaceutical without taking the actions to actually change, and you might need to take a pharmaceutical for a short period of time while you're getting these, but you have to be willing to get uncomfortable and do your own research. And maybe you need to say to the doctor, okay, I'm done with this and I'm going to do it my way. And that can take a lot of bravery because we're in a fear paradigm in our medical industry. And we need, this again goes with being an outlier. You know, the way I take care of my health, people, I've had friends think I'm crazy. And I'm okay with that. So I think that you need to be willing to make some hard changes in your lifestyle. And there you go. And it becomes easy.
Yeah. And, you know, we talk about empowerment all the time, but the minute we put our health firmly in somebody else's hands, we're disempowering ourselves. And I feel that at the moment, you know, there is just so many band-aids being thrown at our health with wear masks, lock yourselves down, and yet there's no information coming out that I'm seeing in these basics. Make sure you're drinking water rather than soft drink. Look at your diet. Are you moving? You know, like are you getting enough sleep? Are you turning off, you know, the fear-mongering news? All these simple things that we can all do. It's not what is being talked about. So
yeah. And honestly, just one more thought on that is this is a perfect time for people that are experiencing lockdown like you are there. This is a perfect time to say, okay, I'm going to turn off the news. I'm going to start drinking water. I'm going to stop doing these things, start doing these things. Because I think, and I find this is happened a lot here in the States, and I think that we're going to probably go back to some craziness once our winter season starts. But a lot of people simply said, this is too much. I'm going to binge watch TV and I'm going to drink every night and I'm going to eat bad food because I'm comforting myself. So here's where the choices come in. Your choice is to say, I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to put myself into the best health that I can possibly put myself into. And that's a choice that everyone gets to make. You get that choice.
Yep, absolutely. I know you've got a beautiful gift for our audience. Have you got a minute to tell us what that is?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to write a little book. You know, if you have some ideas you want to put on paper, you think, oh, okay, I really want to write a book. So 2 years ago, I published a book. It's called Jane's Book of Healthy Habits, and it's 40 habits that I've been doing over the years, and some of them are most of them are simple.
Yep.
An apple a day,
Yep.
lemon and cayenne in your water, tea with coconut oil. So there's these 40 habits, which includes things like forgiveness,
Yeah.
and how hugging is literally releases these happy hormones, oxytocin, that makes you healthy.
Yeah.
So it's this book of healthy habits that I've condensed down to a 7-page peak health checklist.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to read through this whole ebook, which I actually have that. If anyone's interested, I'd be happy to send you the whole thing on an ebook. But I put it down to just this 40
Yeah.
healthy habits, a checklist, that it's on a PDF. It's an amazing little list of peak health.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to be adding in the cane. I'm looking forward to trying that. And you've just reminded me of the 20-second heart hug that I used to do for a long time. It's, it's rather than just the quick hug, it's actually a proper 20-second heart hug, which is heart to heart rather than left side, left
Right.
side.
Right. So
I
good.
have loved this conversation, and I am so grateful to you for making the time to be with us. Thank you so much, Jane.
It's my pleasure, Edwina. It's been lovely.
Oh, I've got that happy glow happening. I just love it, connecting with women that I feel so aligned with and so in tune with. I loved that interview, and I hope that you did too. What can we take away from it? And as you know, inspiring people, empowering people is something that I love, women. But more than that, it is giving you the nudge to take action. We gorge ourselves on all this fabulous knowledge, but the missing piece is often putting it into action. So let's look at all the things that we covered in that interview very briefly. Jane talked about nutrition. She talked about hydration. She talked about movement, connection to nature. I'm sure there was something else. I hope you took notes. It's escaped me, but there were many things, and I feel like, if you just look at that list, look at what jumps out at you. What is one thing that you can start putting into action right now that is going to add another layer of health and vitality to your life? And that's right, she talked about her beautiful skincare. So just, using products on your skin that don't have all the nasty chemicals in them. A very simple oil is a great start, and if you want to add a few delicious things to it, more's the better, but it doesn't need to be complicated. And I really think that is the core message from the conversation that we had, other than learning how to fit 14 children in a car. Is that all these things really and truly are simple. It doesn't need to be complicated, but we can take on so much information that we feel a little paralyzed and then don't take any action on it. So my invitation to you is choose something, one thing. It may be simply adding a salad to each meal, a lovely dark green leafy salad to boost your nutrition. It's all going to help with your skin, your vitality, and your overall sense of well-being. All right, that's it from me today. Much love and bye for now.